First of all, thanks everyone for being here. A few introductions before we get started here. First of all, I'd like to introduce one of our newest school board members, Mark Watson here. He just took a bite of food, so good time there. Also like to introduce Mayor Calloway, which I saw here somewhere. There he is. And we've also got former school board member Carolyn Portman, who I saw somewhere over here. She served on the board for 20 years. So, Mark, only 19 years and 9 months left. You'll have caught up. So, thanks everyone for being here. We're excited to share an update with you regarding our Career in College Pathways program that we've been working on for the last 3 or 4 years. And it's an opportunity for you to get involved and to share your perspective and for us to gather some information for you. One of the things that we started talking about when we started talking about this program several years back, we were talking about students being connected and making sure that they had a niche in our system. And what it would mean if each student in our system was connected in some way. What would it mean to them socially, what it would mean for them emotionally, what it would mean for them academically. And what we know is that students that do have a niche, they thrive in a system as opposed to those that do not. So very important that we get our students connected. Years ago when I was the principal at Pointer, we were having trouble with 3 kids in particular. I remember their names, but I won't share them out loud. And they were habitually late. I mean, you could see them wandering down Grant Street, kind of strolling in, and just so aggravating. And we were having trouble with that, and one of the teachers that had each of them in class, they had them all in class together, as a PE teacher, had them in class and was saying, hey, I get along great with those guys. Can I try something? So I asked him if it was legal, and he said yes. And so he said, just let me have a conversation with him. And the conversation he had with him, he said, hey, I've been asked to take over the raising of the flag each morning. And you know, school can't start until the flag's up. And he said, I want you guys to help me. Every morning I want you to meet me and we're going to put the flag up together. And he said, now 2 things are going to happen. First of all, we can't start school unless the flag's up. Second thing is if the flag's not up, everyone's going to know you're not here. And it was remarkable that they bought into that. I mean, these were 8th graders that totally bought into that, and they would get there early enough, 5 minutes early, the flag would go up, and they would head to class. Such a little thing, but I think it just illustrates the power of what a niche and having a purpose does. And that's something that we started asking ourselves, what if we could expand that concept, and what if we could have that niche for each of our students? And what if that niche focused around these things? What if it focused around our community? And what if each of our students was able to feel the arms of the community wrapping around them and supporting them in what they wanted to accomplish? What if the culture of each of our students was valued in a way that wasn't backed away from? What if we valued bilingualism and the culture that our students brought in just such a powerful way that each student felt respected and welcome wherever they went? What if, when it came to career, that we were preparing students for life after 12th grade, not to just get them out the door and say, yeah, celebrate the graduation rates and then move them on, but really to prepare them for their next step. And those are the questions we started asking ourselves when we kicked off our Career in College Pathways program. And that is our goal. It's to find a niche for each kid. Our goal is to make sure that they feel cared for and respected by not only the staff and the adults that they work with, but by the community which we are hoping that they thrive within. So we ask ourselves, are our students career ready? And at the time, we couldn't answer yes to that. We couldn't be sure that they could leave our system and be ready for the next step in their process. And when we asked that question, we felt like we needed to be able to answer yes to that because our students deserved it. So that's really what kicked off all of this work. And we continue to get momentum around this, and we continue to have community partners join us. If you were to, and I think someone's going to go over this later on in the program, but if you were to be able to see the number of internship hours and the way those have increased over the last several years, I see our friends from the chamber sitting back there that do that work with us. Thank you, Lisa. If you're able to see that, if you're able to see the number of dual credits, or the number of college credits that kids are earning during high school,
Absolutely amazing the way that has taken off, and our partners at the ESD have led a lot of that work. And so we're beginning to get a lot of momentum on that, and because of that momentum, we have business partners from the community wanting to continue to join us and want to be part of that process. It reminds me of back when we were in junior high, my best friend, his name was Manuel, and this is before you texted everybody. We actually called each other back then, and the phone was on the wall. So for those of you younger folks, the phone was actually screwed to the wall. And there was a cord that attached the thing you're talking to. So anyway, I would call him and say, hey, do you want to meet at Judson, our junior high? Do you want to meet there and play basketball? And so the two of us would head down to Judson. And our hope was that by us playing basketball, other people in the neighborhood would start to join in. And pretty soon you had a game that people wanted to be a part of. That's kind of what's happened with this work, as we have a couple people jumped on board early, and then a few more, and then a few more, and now we've got people reaching out to us. So part of this effort today is not only to share what's happening, but also to give people an opportunity to weigh in and help us with our next steps. The investment that this community has made in this program is unprecedented, and we feel great about it. Our grad rates continue to be well above the state average. Like I mentioned, the hours, the internship hours and the job shadow has continued to rise each year. And so the investment is something that we're really proud of. While I've got a captive audience, though, I want to talk about another investment that we might be able to make. That wasn't a very smooth transition, but it's the best I could do. We have a bond in November. And the school bond is an opportunity to invest in a whole different way. The school bond is an opportunity to invest in resources, not only in equipment that our students need, but in facilities that our students need as well. I can't advocate for that during work hours, but I can give you the facts, so that's what I'm going to do today, to give you some facts about the bond. First of all, it's a $408 million bond, and the $408 million is something that we can accomplish without increasing the tax rate. We have a number of bonds that are coming off the rolls, and by those coming off the rolls, we can maintain the same tax rate that we have and generate $408 million for the school district without raising the tax rate. As we polled on this, that's something that's very important to the community. They weren't very excited about raising the tax rate. They were more excited about maintaining the tax rate and being able to generate this amount of money for our students. So very important there. It's part of a long-range plan. If you think about the last bond that we had in 2006, that was part of the first phase. The next phase is this bond, and then the final phase will be in 9 years when we think we're going to need another bond because of the projected growth in there. I also think that based on the conversations that are going on in the community, I think there's going to be another phase that we're going to be talking about, and that is I think we're going to be talking about a local option, because that will allow us to address the class size issue. Unless the state gets a new funding formula and more money rolls to us, that would be awesome. In the event that doesn't happen, I think our school board and our community is going to have to talk about a local option to provide some relief for the class size as well. So let me talk about, just quickly, what the bond prioritizes. The first one is safety and security. The number one thing when you talk to parents that they want is when they send their kid to school, they want to make sure that they're safe. Number one thing that always happens, or that always gets talked about. It's also the number one thing that pulls when you talk to other community members. In the Hillsborough School District, approximately 30% of the people that live within our boundaries, 30% have kids in our school district. But when it comes to, and that means 70% does not. So really important, not only to the community, but to our parents as well. It also provides a number of seismic upgrades, which is hugely important, some security issues when it comes to cameras, a variety of safeguards for our students. All right, I see Beth giving me the sign to hurry up, so I'm gonna do that. Next one is renovate and repair aging schools. So the average age of our schools is 40 years old. And like I said last night when I was giving this talk, I didn't used to think 40 was old in terms of people. I used to think 40 was old in terms of people. Now I don't. But when it comes to a building, that is a significant, it's significant, the modifications and the upgrades that have taken place over the years. Steve Calloway and I, we were talking here about we wonder if Carolyn Ortman's name is on about half of the buildings that have been built in town. Do you know how many? 19 schools. So when you're a board member, if you didn't, Mark, if you didn't know, when you're a board member, your name appears on a plaque when a building is built. And so 19 is the number to beat currently. So renovate and repair, we had pretty warm weather to start our school year. This would put HVAC in place, it would do plumbing upgrades, it would do electrical upgrades, significant remodeling at a couple of our schools, Hill High and Reedville. Also, it would replace a number of portables in our system that need to be upgraded. All right, everyone knows that this is a growing district, and this would allow for two new schools and Brookwood, a replacement to be built there. It would allow for an expansion at Evergreen, an expansion at Glencoe as well. And then the final thing is to allow us to modernize our education for our students. If you were to see the technology that we have in our buildings, and the staff here of course know it, but those of you that aren't staff members, it is aging out very quickly. And we have a significant investment coming in technology with this bond, as well as some flexible classroom furniture that allows us to group and regroup students and to improve our instructional practices in a pretty significant way. The other thing that I know Don Wolf, our technology guy, is excited about is, and I just like saying this, so that's why I always mention it, it allows for a dark fiber ring to be placed around the district. I'm not even sure what that is, but I do know that it means that we won't have to pay Comcast anymore because we'll have our own fiber ring in place. So some exciting stuff, and I just appreciate you considering investing in this way. If you have any questions about that, call any of us. We'll be happy to share. There's also information on the website as well. At this point, I want to introduce Michael Brown. Michael Brown is the city manager for the city of Hillsborough, and he's actually the best city manager that we have right now. And he is the best one. He has been a partner from the get-go with the Hillsborough School District. Since he arrived in town, that has been a priority of his to make certain that the city and the school district works well together, and not just in a, hey, let's talk about being good partners kind of way, but in the real practical delivery of services, in terms of partnerships for our students, in terms of services that they can provide for our students, or opportunities that they can provide for our students. So we want to give Michael a chance to share his thoughts, and please help me welcome him.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking out in the audience and I recognize quite a few people, but there's quite a few people here that I've never seen before, so thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you. I have the honor of serving as a city manager. Just for those that may not know it, I work for city council. The council is comprised of the mayor and 6 councilors, and so Michael is gracious enough to compliment me on the work I've done in the school district. Just please understand that we've had consistently a unanimous council strongly supporting the school district. And the reason for that is really clear, is that what we do in our work as city government is doing our best to improve the quality of life for our community, to create a great place for people to come and enjoy, live, work, experience, play. All the things that you wish to have people feel really comfortable, feel safe. We can't do that without a school district that is doing a great job for our citizenry. It just won't happen. We have numerous partners. City government is just one of those. So when you look on your tables and you see the 2035 plan, you'll see 20, 30 partners that are all working really hard to achieve really solid goals, and it takes that. It takes that kind of commitment from all of us in the room, and I see people out here that in my short time with the city just have invested a lot of their personal time trying to make this community better, and it's fantastic. And the strong part of that too is the diversity of our community. It's been a really strong part of what makes us so strong as a community, is the different race, ethnicities, genders, all the backgrounds, experiences of people that come together, bring their collective thoughts to public policy, and then improve the lives of our community and identify challenges. So it's, for me anyway, on a personal note, yeah, I absolutely came out of the educational system that I think helped me learn a lot. One of the most meaningful times for me was in 8th grade. I had a teacher named Glenn Trusty, and you find those teachers that really change your life. And this particular gentleman was just very practical in his application. And one class he had was called Death and Dying. While that may sound morbid, the class was about life. And he took risks. He taught us what it's like to die, what it's going to be like to die. We had to write our own obituary at 8th grade. You know, you begin to think about what that's like. It's pushing the limits of that. And through that experience, it made you appreciate it. And you would go through whole exercises about what life is like and experiencing that. The other one was a guy named Mr. Rubenstein. He taught advanced storytelling. So for me, part of our curriculum was to be immersed in the community where you go out to elementary school and tell stories. You know, so I was pretty good at Ferdinand the Bull was my namesake talk. But it was a connection. It was making a connection, being invested. Later on in my at the undergrad at the University of Oregon, I helped place students from the College of Education into practical experience in schools. And you learn a little bit more about what that takes to be a teacher. I mention that because recently we were very successful in the city in our recent local option tax. We had somewhere close to 83% of our voters approve it, which may very well be the highest amount of voter approval rating of any measure in the state. We don't know that for sure, but it has to be really close because that's really unusual. And we're really fortunate to have that happen, blessed to have that happen. But it didn't happen by accident. It happened by a lot of investment and constant connections to the community to emphasize the importance of safety and the importance of what it's like to feel safe in your community, and also just the presence. Having our firefighters, police officers out in the street, visible, hopefully doing great work in our community, and then talking about it all the time. Also the library, it's part of that. Our Parks and Recreation programs, having it be front and center where people see it. My personal opinion, across the nation, school bonds are harder to pass than public safety bonds by cities. And there's lots of reasons for that. I would suggest that one of those reasons is that there's a disconnect. There's a lack of understanding that somehow when you get older, you don't have to invest in your schools anymore. You know, somehow you've already had your kids go through and then you've already made your investment, you don't need to do that anymore. The answer to that is completely wrong, in my opinion. You have to continue to invest in schools, and you have to be continuously talking about it. So I'm going to touch on a few that we have. There are 2 slides in the video that I'm going to show you in a moment. But part of the things that we do as a city is really do I think we look for, and look at Patrick, we do publication. Patrick does our public affairs. We constantly look for ways to talk about positively about the school district in what we do. We constantly put pictures of kids up front and center to communicate with the public. We make investments in programs and have for years in the programs we offer that are related to the fact that we're not an educational institution, we're a city government. But what things can we do to continuously promote and support? And I think we've done a really nice job of that, and we're going to continue to do more. And we continue to, it's never enough. We're going to continue to invest, and please, nice to see you. Thank you. I'll start. If you look up at the slide here, it shows a progression basically from early childhood education all the way through to the programs that fit through to PCC, so higher education. And I'm just going to grab my notes here real quickly, or I should say it's a document. This comes out of our budget document. I wanted to read you. This is from the library. This is their top 4 goals. I'm going to read a couple to you. First, reading readiness. Infants, toddlers, and preschool children will have access to collection, programs, and services that help them develop a lifelong love of books, reading, and learning. That's pretty cool, right? And we're not the school district, but we're investing in that. Another goal, number 4, student success. Students will have resources that assist them with their assignments, help them succeed in school, and meet their learning goals. So again, it's a partnership. And I would say a really strong partnership. We also have strong partnerships, I believe, with PCC, with PSU, a variety. You'll see in the next slide here in a moment. We'll talk about that. But just to walk you through, so you have some kids and some programs that we're providing to school districts, and storytelling courses, a variety of programs, and I'm not going to list them all. I don't know if it's on your desk, but Christy Wilson, who manages, puts out this publication, which lists a variety of different things that we do for youth engagement programs. And just to say it again to you, our goal as a city government is to have the absolute best youth engagement program of any city in the state of Oregon. So that's our aspiration, and we're going to continue to say we are that until someone proves us otherwise. But if you have ideas about how we can do it better, we're all ears. But we have a series of programs. If you look up at the slides, say the center one there with the scarves, that's our youth Advisory Council, our internship programs, and a variety of things that we do as a city. One thing I just got to do because I'm here, Chrissy brought TEDx Youth to Hillsborough. Fernando here was the presenter. We got a chance to see him down in Portland, and then he came and presented here. It's just fantastic. Just constantly, looking for ways to promote and support what we do. I had one of those phones that was mounted on the wall too.
Am I doing? Can I help you?
No?
Yeah.
You're good. Back one.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. So what we did here is part of when we created emphasized our internship program. What Christy's been doing is trying to track where students are going afterward. What colleges are they going after they've been involved with intern? We're going to keep doing that because we want to have a long history of seeing that. But it's pretty impressive if you look at where the colleges that the students are going through after they come through us, and then also who we're attracting to our city. So, for example, we're working on a smart city initiative within our city, and we have a student from Syracuse University working there. And she's a specialist in data. She has 2 degrees, and I don't even know what the title of the degree is called, but it's just all about data. So it's pretty cool, that we're spreading the love and joy across the world. It's pretty neat. But it's an investment, and it's a recognition of the partnerships of what it takes to have a successful education institution. If you switch to the next one, just before it comes up, before you push it, recently the City Council approved a year-long fellowships. So we have 2 that come from our Youth Advisory Council. So in other words, Youth Advisory Council members that can have 2 year-long internships with the city. And then we also participate in a graduate school fellowship with 1 year-long internship. And we're going to be continuing to expand to that. It's been, just to share with you, I don't know who all you all work for, here a few of you do, but the power of a youth voice, a youth presence within your organization is really, really cool. I mean, every day I get to walk in and see Jacob Havlick in front of our office, and the guy's just fantastic. Smart as hell and fun. Just the vibrancy that it brings to what we do is just fantastic. Anyway, go on about that. So we're going to continue to expand the program. So with that said, here's a video that our Christy and Jessica put together for our fellowship program.
And remember, this program is going to continue every year. And remember, we just go like this. Christy and Jessica are here reporting live from the Civic Center. Jessica, we have 3 new public service fellows coming online. What do they look like this year?
Honestly, Christy, the incoming class is impeccable. I mean, just the skill set coming off of these 3 is just so over the top, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, we've got people who can speak Spanish. We've got someone with a master's of public administration. We've got someone who can work in ArcGIS. It's honestly sensational to see the way that these 3 are going to be integrated into the city this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. Now, let's take a look.
Hey Hillsborough, I'm a self-starter and I'm ready to spatially analyze any projects you throw my way.
This is a game changer.
Yeah.
No wonder the Economic Development Department and the Parks Department are fighting over his time right now.
And I just want to add, I mean, the maps that this kid can build are just out of this world. His skill set is truly unbelievable.
I'm taking the city's inclusion and accommodation program to the next level.
Wow, Christy, he is throwing those dollar bills because he has got lots and lots of skills.
That's true, Jessica. And Lucas has been working with the city on and off for the last 6 years, from helping out at the Community Senior Center, from being an active member of the Youth Advisory Council, and it's so awesome that he's taken this next step in his career here with us.
Absolutely. As Hillsborough continues to grow, I'm the one to know. wow. And looking at Madison and knowing that she has her master's in public administration, it is just sensational to think of how she's gonna make the city manager's team really come together. All of that knowledge is just gonna be an absolute asset to them on the 5th floor.
That's right, Jessica. And with people like that coming into the organization, we should all be worried about our jobs.
Classic Wilson.
And remember, this program is going to continue every year. Every year we're going to get 3 awesome individuals in the organization. So each department should work hard to carve out some awesome projects for that.
Fantastic. Well, this is Jessica and Christy signing out.
Thank you, Christy and Jessica, that was awesome. Sports Center is next for you in your career pathway. My name is Travis Ryman. I serve as Assistant Superintendent in the Hillsborough School District, and I want to tell you that this morning I have my 5-year-old entering Minter Bridge as a kindergartner just succeeded in not crying at his handoff. Thank you. And when we talk about creating pathways for all students, I've understood it on a bunch of different levels, and this year I understand it at a whole new level because I see my 5-year-old going into a bilingual dual language kindergarten program, which took us many years to construct in Hillsborough, and now we have 3,000 students learning via 2 languages every day of their lives. And I realized that if he stays in the Hill High feeder, he may go to Mr. Pendergrass's Biotech Biomed program, or Mrs. Pendergrass's Business and Marketing program, or he may go to Auto Tech with Mr. Campbell. And so I start to realize the personal level of what we're constructing here in our city through the eyes of a 5-year-old, who actually has no idea what's going on. He's not crying this morning, which is great. So thank you for allowing me to be here and talk about what we're building. A lot of you have seen these slides before, but I think it's important to do storytelling to remind ourselves where we are, to inform those who are new to our work, and to celebrate the achievements that we have accomplished so far. This is from Reedville Elementary School, where we talk to kindergartners about who they want to be when they grow up. Risa wants to be a teacher, Evan wants to be a doctor. He actually in the future will perform open heart surgery on himself, which might be possible through Google Hangouts or FaceTime. Using technology. Police officer, Irais wants to be a veterinarian. Riley wants to be a doctor, and Keena wants to be a Red Robin worker. I think the Ryman kids would be hip to that professional track as well. The vision is that we have clear and viable pathways for all students, and if we do so, we'll unlock human potential, passion, intelligence in our community, and that all of our industry will thrive. Our schools, our city, private industry partners, and we hope to build that via Pathways for All Students. We also know that each of us need doorways, but we also need supports. We don't all come to kindergarten with the same skill sets or the same supports at home or the same background in our family, and we know that we need to put those stepping stones there so all students can get to the other side of the creek. Some of us can bound across in a single leap, and some of us need a lot of support. So the idea is that we need to be strategic and engage all of our partners in creating the systems of support and clear and viable pathways for all students. We formed 4 years ago into a steering committee, and we developed some common metrics. We think every student should be able to start a college transcript when she's still in high school. Every student should be able to have some kind of career-related learning experience in the real world. And every student needs the support systems like a good counselor and how to navigate the system of submitting a FAFSA and getting the financial aid we need to take those next steps. To celebrate and to inform all of us today, I think it's really important to recognize the strides that we've made. I wonder if this has a laser beam. Yes, it does. This right here is a little thermometer that if you're a community partner and you want to host an intern, today you can get on our website and say, I have a business, I need an intern, X number of hours, and they need to be this old to work in my factory floor. 4 years ago, we had 408 students a year doing an internship. That meaning 30 hours, sufficient to get some job skills type of internship. And this year we're celebrating 646. Will you give yourselves a round of applause for doing that? We also, via our partnerships with higher ed partners like Northwest Promise, Willamette Promise with Western Oregon University, we're offering an increasing number of courses for what's called dual credit, meaning that I'm taking a course in high school, but I'm also getting the credit for that course at the college level, and I'm getting a transcript so that as a junior or senior I can see I've got these courses already knocked out in my college career. That not only helps me develop a college-going identity and realize that I'm college-going material, but it also saves me money. I'm paying a lot less for those credits, in some cases zero, than I would were I to go to the University of Oregon and pay full price. Not to, play we're better than them, but there's a neighboring district that is the next closest in terms of number of partnerships. They have 11 and 3, and you can see how many we have with our different partnerships there. Short story, we're knocking it out of the park in terms of dual credit opportunities in Hillsborough, and we're only growing. So thanks to the teachers who have spent many hours aligning curriculum on both sides of that fence, university faculty and high school faculty who work in professional learning communities to broker those deals and award that credit based on the assessment of our students. We also have an increasing number of students submitting FAFSA and ORSA each year, meaning that they're putting in to get money to take next educational steps after they graduate. So again, our goal is 100% graduation rate. We think that's attainable, and we believe that 100% of students should be going into a meaningful career pathway, either through a training program, college, or just straight into the workforce when they leave our system. Who knows what I mean when I say FOMO? Okay, good. So here's something that people talk about like in Snapchat and Instagram. If you're watching social media and everybody's having a baby, getting married, and going on an awesome vacation, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, I'm missing out on all these wonderful events. My life's boring compared to these things. FOMO, fear of missing out. It's an acronym. We hope to encourage all of our community members to have this anxiety, like, am I in on this project in HSD? Am I HSD connected? We've actually thought about doing like a Got Milk campaign with buttons that say, are you HSD connected? So raise your hand if you're here today and you're connected to the Hillsborough School District in some way. Good. All right. You don't have to have fear of missing out. You're locked in. And I would encourage everybody to be able to tell the story to their neighbors and their friends about how to get HSD connected if they're not yet. So a challenge to you, when we share today, take this information back to your next backyard barbecue and say, you know what, I'm HSD connected, and I'd like to encourage you to get connected to one of these programs as well. Mike would challenge me frequently, Travis, how are you putting this all together into a story that anyone can possibly understand? Dual credit, FAFSA, college courses, CTE. And I talked to my friend Brian Cook, who's an art teacher at middle school in town, and said, could we draw a cartoon map of our town so we can start to take an airplane ride into each campus and teach people what kind of programs are growing up there? He said, my dad's a cartographer, I'm an artist. Give us over the holiday break and I'll come back with a product. So what Brooke's going to share today is a little aerial view of our town and try to get all of us up to speed about the CTE programs that are growing up, and then hopefully get you HSD connected.
Good morning, everyone. I have to just take a moment. In these life moments, as a product of the Hillsborough School District, I grew up almost all my life here. I always think about the investment that was made in me as a student and continue as a community member and as an employee. And this is why I love Hillsborough, is this. Bringing the community together in this way to highlight what's going on, not only in our school district, but in our amazing city, and the partnerships that we have and the continued investment that we make, not only in our students, but in our community is amazing. So I just need to take a moment to say thank you for that. And I do have the honor of sharing when we get the bond, and with Measure 98 money, thank you so much for voting for that, the continued investment that we're making not only in our students, but in our community through Pathways. So I'm going to quickly go through these because what is a treat for all of you is that actual teachers who are helping to develop these programs today are here. So they're going to be able to bring these to life much more than I could because they are developing these as we speak. But at Hill High, some great programs of study are developing.
As Travis mentioned, the Biotech Program, Brian Pendergrass is here to talk to you more about that. That first intro sequence actually started this school year and is continuing to grow. We are on the docket to start an animal science program, and the first intro class is being developed to start hopefully next year as well. And then, on our blue and green slides, our robotics program is growing. We just got done wrapping up a career and technical education grant that through the summer we had a bilingual program for middle and high school students to get them hands-on learning opportunities in that robotics pathway. And we're also seeing that robust program grow as well. At Glencoe, we're very lucky we have Todd Patterson here today who will be talking about construction technology, but this is really exciting. The launch of tiny homes for next year will be at Glencoe High School through the construction technology program. Something that we've really strategically been looking at is how do we also grow entrepreneurship within our career and technical education programs as well, as we know that we're stewards of producing economic growth and development for our community. We also know that entrepreneurship, no matter the pathway that students have, is so vital and important as well. So as we're growing programs, that's a great highlight to that one as well. At Century, there's a couple, I need to put another one up. One that we're also developing is microelectronics at Century as well, and also expanding in accounting too. So microelectronics is one that we, with Portland Community College, have talked a lot about how do we expand and grow that, because we know that that's a need in our community, as PCC also is moving their microelectronics program to Willow Creek. That makes a lot of sense to have that at Century High School. And then at Liberty, lots is going on at Liberty. Today we are so lucky to have two teachers that are doing sustainable agriculture and the sustainable design program that will speak to that. As well as we're growing a biotech program there when the bond passes. We're also looking at growing a diesel mechanics program there too, and moving our transportation center over by Liberty High School to also bridge with Portland Community College in their diesel mechanics program. So lots is going on at Liberty with an investment in our community. Miller Education Center, big picture, just launched this year. That's a really new and different and amazing program where students are doing hands-on learning opportunities the minute that they start their freshman year. So as they're getting core curriculum, they're also taking advantage of hands-on opportunities and internships as they continue from 9th to 12th grade. So that's just launching this year. And then Hillsborough Online Academy has a wonderful venue for many different career pathway, career tech ed intro courses. So as we know, a lot of students may have conflicts in their schedules, so to be able to take an intro class on Hillsborough Online in an interested career tech ed program, or be able to be in a career pathway at their high school, but then also dabble in a different one. That's what's nice about having that offering at Hillsborough Online, is we're able to offer even more career tech ed courses through them. Next steps for us is, as we're ramping up and growing and developing, one is we know that we need to develop a different transportation system to make sure we're getting students from where they need to go, from place to place. So that's something that we're working on, as well as the use of Measure 98, bond money, gain share money, and then I have to say, this is what's so great about living, playing, and working in Hillsborough, our partnerships with Portland Community College, the City of Hillsborough, the school district, all working together to move this work forward and to plan for a greater and better, I don't know how it could be, Hillsborough though. So that is definitely next steps for us. We know that this is the right work because just through data and our grad rates, we know that career tech ed has a higher grad rate. Makes sense though, right? As students are connected to a pathway, they understand how that connects to the world of work. That's going to help them to continue in those core subjects, to go, you know what, I know I need this math. I see where it takes me. I'm going to graduate to move forward in this career. So we know that this is the right work and the right investment. This is just to highlight some of the work of Measure 98. If you went to our high schools today, I see Martha right here at Century, you would see We have just invested in a Master's of Social Work type counselor. They're called Health and Wellness Counselors. You would see additional grad coaches. You would see additional math and language arts support. You would see that we also have invested in strategic planning for our teachers to be growing those pathways. So some of our teachers today have a planning period where they're able to work within the community to really grow their course sequence to launch that following school year. So we've used Measure 98 money as well to invest in that way. Okay, with that, I'm going to bring up our panel. So as you guys come up, I will introduce you, and Travis and I are going to moderate today. So we are so fortunate to have Hillsborough Chamber of Commerce President Deanna Palm. Hello and welcome. Portland Community College President Sandra Fowler-Hill. Hello, welcome. Western Oregon University. Dave, I know you just changed your title. It's not provost anymore. It is Associate Vice President Dave McDonald. And Northwest Regional ESD. Sarah, what is your title? Sarah Pope.
Executive Director of Instructional Services.
Oh, Executive Director of Instructional Services, come on down. And Sarah Pope, and then our career technical education teachers, we have Brian Pendergrass, Paul Lardy, Melissa Pendergrass, Todd Patterson, and Kevin Crabtree, come on up. And then finally, near and dear to my heart, as a former student of my alumni, Fernando Aguilar Roman is going to talk about his experience in high school as a future Connect grad and now at Pacific University. And TED Talk is this year.
Just a reminder, thanks to Beth and Marlene and Jane for putting this shindig together today. Kelly Purdy, you have a sheet in front of you for taking notes on the presentations today. We're in the middle section called Community Stakeholder Panel. So if things resonate with you or ideas that you have around how to help us develop career and college pathways for students occur to you during the presentation, please take a minute and jot those down.
Sorry.
Okay. I have the first questions, and panel, respond when something just captures your heart and you would like to share. We have microphones for you. Maybe, do you want to, yeah, we'll share. I'm going to give that one. Okay. So, first question here is, we've done who you are. So if you could talk a little bit about the experience and involvement with career tech ed or college and career pathways, how you're connected to this work, that would be a great start for us today. Here, I'll figure it out.
I got it. Oh, there we go. It's on.
Okay.
This is my second year and a half in CTE. Last year, it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, I was talking with Kelly Purdy, she's head of CTE for the district, right?
Yeah.
And it came out that I was CTE certified, and that she had talked to Travis. And he was interested in starting a biotech program, and had heard interest from Genentech, one of the local industry partners. And so now there's a biotech program, fast 40 years. So that's my involvement. And now I'm starting a pathway and sort of growing it from the ground up. And the support from the district and the local partners have been coming out of the woodworks, and it's been great. So, yeah.
I'm Todd Patterson. I'm currently a social studies teacher at Glencoe High School, but I'm transitioning to be a CTE teacher. I have a previous career in home construction, and so my hope is to implement that program at Glencoe High School and teach kids, valuable skills, not just construction skills, but professional skills to be successful and to give them like a competitive advantage when they leave high school, whether they're moving on to college or they're going to join the workforce. So I'm really excited to be a part of it. Thanks.
My name is Kevin Crabtree. I've taught at Liberty for the past 14 years, and everything from construction tech, environmental science, AP environmental science, digital electronics. And we're looking to build kind of a dual program at Liberty with sustainable design and sustainable agriculture, and with a focus heavily on the design so that our students can take any of their skills out, to any of a variety of industries, not just construction, but it will be heavily focused on construction.
Hi, Hi everyone, my name is Fernando. I am a graduate of Glencoe High School, and during my time there, I was able to kind of find out what I wanted to do. So we had like focus programs. So what I did is I did one in social service and also one in healthcare. And through that, I was able to find that I was like really passionate about, helping people. So right now I'm pursuing a career in dentistry. And a little more on my background. So after Glencoe, I went to Portland Community College. And right now I'm an undergrad at Pacific University.
My name is Melissa Pendergrass. I'm currently the School of Career Specialist at Hillsborough High School. It's my first year in that role. And prior to that, I've been teaching business and marketing at Hill High.
My name is Paul Artie. I've been teaching at Liberty, I think, for 14 years now, along with Kevin. I guess I have my experiences as I grew up in the area in Forest Grove, and then I've been to PCC and graduated from U of O, also went to Pacific University. So when we're talking about partnerships, I guess, I look at that's my own path. I also, during college, I started an apprenticeship in masonry. I actually helped lay all the stone out in front of this facility. So I was visiting those stones this morning before I came in. And I did that for about 10 years. And then through some of my coaching experience within the Hillsborough School District, I was interested in getting into education. The last about 4 to 5 years at Liberty High School through our environmental science and construction technology program, we're looking for that project and experience piece for the kids. And through some interest of some kids and our own, we started a garden that's slowly turning into a farm at the school now. And so a lot of what we've done is try to get the kids out there to give them actual experiences in that garden and head towards that idea of sustainable agriculture, as well as what Kevin talked about is sustainable design and just all the different areas that can influence for them moving forward.
Good morning, I'm Sarah Pope, and I became experienced with the Hillsborough School District from a data perspective when I worked at the Department of Education. I was like, what are these folks doing? They are always outperforming the state. I can't believe it. And pretty much in every group and across the district on average. So when I came to the ESD, we got to conduct these inventories last year where we got to go into high schools, saw some of the programs that were in place, met with the folks running it. It was like, oh, I get it. They have a really, really clear vision, a plan to back it up, and then have hired really smart teachers, really smart district administrators to make it happen. And I've been lucky enough to get to launch the Northwest Promise alongside PCC and in partnership with Western to expand the dual credit opportunities. So that's what I'm doing now, but have just really seen Hillsborough on the map for an awful long time.
Well, good morning. I have a couple hats I wear, and certainly I just changed into the strategic initiative piece. I'm also a parent, and my son is a dual language graduate from his high school and is actually using that dual language skill set in college. Now, to dispel what dual language is real quickly, my son is 6'6", Asian American, and he speaks fluent Spanish. He doesn't speak Japanese with a lick, which is my fault, but nonetheless, when we talk about dual language, we're really talking about an inclusive experience that really helps everybody from all their different language backgrounds. Western Oregon's involvement with Hillsborough in this area has been in two big initiatives. One is certainly around the dual credit. We started working with them the year before the Willamette Promise picked up. It became this incredible vehicle to serve a lot of school districts around working with students and teachers. And the second more recent activity is our Grow Your Own initiative with the school district around the Bilingual Teacher Scholarship Program, where we recognize the need for schools to have teachers who are truly bilingual at almost a near native fluency level, so they can work not only with the students but with the parents. And this has been a great partnership to build the infrastructure within the school district.
Good morning, it's an honor to be here. I'm Sandra Fowler-Hill, the campus president at Portland Community College, Rock Creek. And I've been here this is my 4th year. And it's been real exciting to see this partnership grow and develop. We are have a Future Connect scholarship with the city of Hillsborough and Hillsborough School District, and that's very generously supported students like Fernando to be able to attend college and be college ready. The Oregon Promise students started coming in last year, and those students are able to access our 14 career tech programs at Rock Creek, or up to 40 programs across the district. Tech, which coordinates all of the federal Carl Perkins money for career tech programs, is located on our campus and has worked with Hillsborough School District in providing funding back to the schools, as well as aligning those programs like biotech with college level courses. The dual credit program, which Miranda mentioned, is expanded even further with us last year. Over 1,317 students from Hillsborough School District earned college credit while they were still enrolled in high school. And that program has also been expanded to include early college, where students are earning college credit at the campus instead of at the high school and completing their degree from high school as well as college. So it's been a strong, rich partnership.
Good morning, Deanna Palm, President of the Hillsborough Chamber. We are so delighted to have such a strong partnership and relationship with the Hillsborough School District. We sit, I think, and really the ground floor, looking eye to eye to a business owner that is feeling the true impact of the positive change and the forward momentum of career pathways, and where our employers are actually able to have internships to build and grow their own workforce, and to do that through a pipeline process where they have, they know that their students are being taught appropriately and relevant information, that there's a way for them to bring them in to actually give them actual experience. I love to see this change in the pendulum switching, where it's coming back more from a standpoint of how do students find career pathways that will lead them to economic prosperity. We've seen it in the graduation numbers that it is relevant to a student that can connect their future to the education will stick it out, they'll stay, they'll get that diploma. And I think that is so important, and I'm so excited to see how the Hillsborough School District has grabbed onto this and has created such an extremely strong program. And I would be remiss to not mention that if you go down Southeast 5th Avenue to 334 Southeast 5th, you can pick up your sign for the bond campaign, and I think that would be really important, and then you would not have that fear of missing out and not be the only one in your neighborhood without a bond sign in your lawn, because that would be embarrassing. So co-chairing the bond campaign, and very excited what that opportunity will bring to the Hillsborough School District. It's imperative and it's so important, so thank you for your work.
Thank you, Deanna. That was actually anxiety producing in me, that I don't have a yard sign yet, and therefore I have FOMO as we speak. So I appreciate that comment. I'm going to try to merge question 2 and 3. Number 2 is really about what you'd like to see in the future from your lens as a community partner, a post-secondary partner in this work, a teacher, a student. And then the third is, what barriers do you see that we can remove in terms of understanding each other's worlds? I think, to give some context to this, what we've noticed in working with teachers aligning courses at the college level is that we work in different institutions and we don't have the time to talk. And what I've realized is that we started to attend each other's meetings. Deanna was at a meeting of CTE teachers the other day talking about internships. Sandra was in a meeting the other day talking with a developer about future programming that would be shared by our 2 institutions. So Carmen Casada from Western was in a meeting with dual language teachers on Friday talking about what our story has been together. So what do you see as the barriers that we could remove if we worked well together, continue to work well together, and what would you like to see in the future for the state of career pathways and college pathways for students? Maybe we work in reverse this time.
Okay, well, I actually am fortunate to also serve on the board of Portland Community College, so I really feel fortunate to be able to sort of be a part of that world and then bring that information back to my partnership with the Hillsborough School District. But I do think that maybe spending a little time being strategic about what our goals are as an institution at Portland Community College, seeing how that works with Hillsborough School District, where are the alignments, where are the partnerships, where are the opportunities. I'm excited, and I will tell you the rest of the board of Portland Community College is extremely excited to see the amplified level of dual credit. That is one of the things that we're passionate about on the board level, is ensuring that students have access to dual credit as much as they want, and Because again, from a parent perspective, that's a huge investment and it's a great opportunity. So I think ensuring that we're doing everything we can to provide dual credit that's transferable to every higher ed institution, and making sure that that is aligned and that a student that walks out with dual credit can transfer that appropriately to a higher institution, I think is important. And I think that there's a lot of work being done on the community college level, on the university level, on the legislative level to ensure that that happens. But I think just continuing the dialogue and communication is, I think, pivotal.
Thanks for asking the question. And I think one of the barriers is funding. It takes time, and that means time for effort to bring people together. And so having adequate funding from both the college and university side as well as K-12 to have those conversations. I think more than anything, what the school district can do is that graduate 100% and meet that goal, and that every student have a plan. Because if students don't know where they're going, how do they know when they've got there? And how do they know what direction? And then as we do dual credit, making that dual credit count. So how does that fit within the transfer bill? How does that fit in achieving their goals of whether that be work or a degree? And so I think those intentional conversations and bringing people together like today can help us move forward together.
So I'm going to answer this in two ways. First of all, I want to describe, at least from my perspective, what the ideal high school graduate really looks like. And it's a picture I think we all can get, in fact Travis in particular. This person looks like a grown-up kindergartner. Has the same level of curiosity, communicates and plays well with everybody, wants to learn, high energy, engaged, okay, sometimes over-engaged, but is really this incredible sponge and this incredibly giving, caring person. And what we have to do is build systems, not just through K-12, but actually through higher ed, that stop stripping away some of those essential skills. Because when you talk to employers and ask them what they want, guess what? They describe that kindergartner. They really do. Team player, communicates, curious, engaged, all those things. That's what we want. So what we would like to have in terms of removing those barriers is really an understandable model of what a high school graduate should be. It's that kindergartner with an awareness of college, with the skills to understand the process. Now they may not go to college right away. They may work for 15 years, 10 years, but we know in this society, having that additional education truly is the key, and I like the keys we have here, but it's a key that opens up a future of opportunities for the students. So the barrier is to remove some of the systemic language gaps we have, the terminology gaps, the understanding, and make sure that no matter who we are, we're telling our kids they are all college ready. And eventually they all be college bound. And it doesn't have to be when they're 18, but it should happen at some point in time or multiple points in time in their life.
So I think as an education system, we've created really arbitrary boundaries, right? So if you're early childhood, you do something that's totally separate and disconnected, and then you enter kindergarten, and it's a totally different system, and then we're done in 12th grade, and we move you into college, a vastly different system. And I think what Hillsborough is doing in upsetting those arbitrary boundaries and ensuring that Sandra and I are at meetings on a regular basis, or Dave and I are at meetings on a regular basis, that your early childhood folks are talking to your kindergarten folks and learning together in professional learning communities, is what's going to ensure a real seamless pathway for kids. And I think that work starts with relationships, but it moves on into really concrete programs. So I've had the opportunity to work in the Northwest Promise program with the writing teachers and seeing high school writing teachers in rooms with college writing faculty and deciding, oh, here's what we're supposed to do in Common Core. Oh, I see how it aligns to what 121 needs. If I change my syllabus a little bit, change my assignment a little bit, I'm pretty confident I can get this high school student the 121 credit by the time they leave my classroom. Those professional conversations, I think, are key to ensuring that students just see a really smooth pathway, that they enter in early childhood potentially, and they go through college, and it sort of doesn't matter who's in charge of the system, but the system's working for them.
I guess my perspective is a whole lot different, I guess, or I don't know if it's different or not, but from the teaching perspective, the piece that I look at is just my specific program expansion. I teach a I'm starting to teach agriculture classes out of a chemistry lab, which is a feat in itself. You're not really supposed to have food and chemicals in the same place. And so in my mind, I think about, facilities, and for us, we also have kind of a unideal situation where, one group of kids starts plants and gets everything planted, and right as our garden is starting to kick in, they all leave for the summer. And then our whole growing season, or the majority of our growing season, is the summer where we don't have students. And then the next group of kids that we have come in really don't have the ownership that was theirs, and so it's kind of starting over in the fall with a different group of kids. So as, and a lot of that is just, on us to continue to develop our program where we have layered kids coming back so that we know what skills they have from the year before. Obviously for us, whether it's greenhouses or hoop houses or facility improvements to where the kids are being able to, extend that fall growing season as well as start the growing season earlier so that they really have a piece in all the different processes. So that's, I guess, more specific to my program.
I'm going to take this opportunity to plug a partnership that we've started, that we're working on, that Kelly and Brooke has been working with me closely on with First Tech Credit Union. They're building out a space, an office space next to the Hillsborough School District, and we have started an agreement with them to each of our high schools that have a business program have a marketing lab. And so once the students work through their beginning and intermediate coursework, they then have the opportunity to work in a school-based enterprise that's on campus in their school. And this partnership is going to allow us to take that to the next level and then get our students outside of our building and into the First Tech building where we will have a coffee shop that those students are then interning in that pull from all 4 of our high schools and have the opportunity to work with the business managers and the finance department at First Tech that will be then mentoring those students who are working on site and then having the opportunity to serve and work with someone other than other high school students that looks a little different. It's real world, but it's not as real world as being in an actual business that's open to the public. So I think just the opportunity for businesses and schools to work together to maybe take more risks and providing more authentic partnerships outside of the classroom is something that I think is what we need to continue to drive.
Well, as a former student of HSD, I would say that the biggest thing is making the time students are in high school really practical. So I know sometimes people, they want everybody to go to college, but I think, there's so many different paths people can take. Some of my friends, they joined the workforce right after high school. Some of them are pursuing, technical careers, and then there's others are doing a bachelor's degree and so on. So what I would say is kind of have, those 3 paths open. So when students do go to school, they find their time, really meaningful. So that way they can be, encouraged to go every single day because they're doing something they're really interested in. And as far as removing barriers, I would say just making programs more visible. So for me, when I was about to graduate and apply for PCC and Future Connect, I didn't really know it existed until I dug around and I kept bugging my college counselor, Ms. Nova, about it. But not everybody's super persistent and all the time there. So I would say just simple things like flyers, and also just having, I guess you could say, role models. So people that have done it, so you can see yourself hey, maybe I can go to PCC and I can pursue this second career, or maybe from there transfer on to a university. So I would just say making programs more visible and showing younger students that others have done it before them.
I would have to say that I'd echo Paul's comments on more the practicality and the idea that the school that we all remember is not the school that really is going to get the job done now. We need to have a very, very different approach, and I think community and business partners can actually support that quite well, because it's been my experience that most people are looking for that hard work, that curiosity that was mentioned, and I think a lot of times we say that, and oftentimes we need to do that as a system. And I think the community can help really promote that. I think to that note, I think the community needs to spend a little bit more time actually in our buildings and see what's going on, because you can have an image of what's going on, and that really doesn't help you make good decisions. But coming in the buildings, I think, would be valuable.
I know I teach during the school year and then I work construction in the summer times, and I know just from this last summer that there's a major labor shortage for skilled tradesmen, craftsmen, construction managers, which is why they bring me back every summer, is because I have experience in that. And I'm thinking of all these students I have every day in my history class that if they just had a little bit of guidance, like they would be a great superintendent or, you know, quality control manager or customer service person for a residential builder. And so I think I'd like to, yeah, the more we can bridge that gap between community and students, and if we as CTE teachers can help with that, I think that's really important, because there are jobs out there for young people with skills, and they're not getting filled. So, and I think a lot of that is because there's just not the pathways in place for these people to be in line for those jobs. So I think that's the biggest thing. Thank you.
As someone who's starting a new program, I think this year, the past year, I guess, has been a real eye-opener as to what is possible when everyone in this room and everyone up here sort of gets together. Like I said, my program started about a year and a half ago with a discussion when I walked into my wife's classroom and talked to her neighbor. And then she had talked to Travis, and Travis had talked to Genentech. And 6 months later, I was applying in front of the school board, applying to get a course approved and a pathway approved. Last year, I spent the entire time trying to connect with partners, trying to come up with money. Then this bond came up, and when the bond passes, I will have an entire unused home ec room will be transformed into a real-life biotech lab. I mean, it will look exactly like the one at PCC. And then this year, since about a month before the school year, I've developed partnerships with Genentech, with Oregon Health Sciences University, with the Primate Center on Walker and 85th, the Oregon Bioscience Association, all these people, PCC, we have dual credit already lined up. Northwest ESD is helping us write another grant, bringing even more money to fund my program. I did not know this was possible. And I don't think it's a success story of me, I think it's a success story of everybody involved. That when all these people come together, whether it's biotech program or agriculture or construction, anything is possible. And I've already had some faculty members from PCC come and talk to my students, and their eyes just got big, seeing what was possible for them, that they could do these kind of things at high school, not in college, not in a career, but that connection that they could see there. So I think ultimately it's just the possibilities are endless. That's what I've sort of seen this year.
Thank you. Just before we transition, I want to thank the panelists. One of the things that I'm reflecting on as I'm listening to you talk is the amount of risk-taking and stepping outside of comfort zone that you're doing. One of the things that I notice is that we all work so hard and coach sports and have families, and it's not easy to teach a chemistry class without having the consideration of developing an ag program in the same classroom. It's also not easy to work in higher ed and have to meet all the different types of accreditation requirements that you need to maintain while dabbling in the world of dual credit with high school teachers. And I want to say that each one of you has expressed something about risk-taking or getting outside of that normal everyday perception of what our role is. And I want to congratulate you and thank you for investing your own time, sometimes navigating tricky political situations, not having the resources that you need to do the best possible, but making it work anyway. And I just want to appreciate you all for overcoming those challenges. And as a student as well, seeing that you can help us develop more visible pathways for students, much appreciated. So a little round of applause before we move.
And before you guys go back to your tables, thank you so much for unlocking the doors for all of our students in our community. So please take your key and I want to echo Travis, the comments, the passion, the risk-taking that each of you have to develop these pathways in a stronger community for Hillsborough. I want to thank you. So please take your key and display it somewhere proud for really unlocking those pathways and doors for us. So thank you again. Tables, you have listened a lot for about an hour and 15 minutes, so now it's your turn to synthesize all that information and have a discussion at your tables. If you have a star on your name tag, that means you are your table facilitator. So you have the responsibility for two things: designating a note taker and a reporter for your table. Just want you to know that. So two responsibilities: a note taker and a reporter. We have about 25 minutes for all of you to discuss and synthesize what we talked about today, and then we'll come back together. Thank you.
The bar for our whole area in terms of helping prepare our students, looking realistically at our growth or for the whole area, and getting students a quality experience, helping us all dream bigger for what the 21st century can be for our students in the educational experience in Hillsborough School District and in this whole area. Then we talked about what things resonated from the panel discussion. Talking about making programs visible, relevant, and just accessible for all students. Bridging that gap to college and career readiness for all our kids. And that the traditional classroom model is really changing. And how do we make that visible for everybody so that everybody is becoming more aware of that? Because even as we are learning about this, people in our community need to learn about this as well. And so that's a growing awareness piece. Finally, it was like, we got into this overall, I think, questions and wonderings for us was, how can we engage in making these college and career pathway experiences available to younger students and make that happen in elementary and middle school so that they're bridging that whole college and career connection all the way through the K-12 experience. And then how are we going to get folks to connect to this? Because we have this sense of excitement, but it's hard to capture in a brochure. It's really that person to person, listening to people talk about it, where you get that sense of excitement about what the future holds for us.
Well done. You can carry it.
Table number 3.
Thanks, guys.
About bond and partnerships, we talked a bit about how much the community gets from the bond and how the school district website is laid out so clearly what each school is going to be getting from the bond. So members of each community or neighborhood has a specific idea of how it's going to change in their schools. We talked about how parents pretty much all support the bond, and for non-parents, just the understanding that it doesn't raise the tax rate, so it's going to be the same rate as they had last year. And so it feels like a win-win for everyone. On the community stakeholder panel, we talked about the importance of getting other students involved, irrespective of whether they're going to college or choosing other pathways, practical skills. For those going into the workforce, stressing the importance of internships with local businesses, focusing on critical thinking and communication, not just the technical skills. In terms of future expansion, we talked about healthcare being a really important one. And we heard that Glencoe does a really good job with focus programs. We talked a little bit about bot-resistant careers and service-oriented careers, how to stay relevant, and also how critical thinking and communication can help with coming up with new projects and new ideas and where to go next.
Thank you. That's Anita from Intel. I was at this table too, and Representative McLean is on a task force for autonomous driving vehicles, and she encouraged us to talk about bot-resistant professions. So the bots are out there, and they're going to take over soon. So we talked about how each of us have industry professionals who help us update and keep relevant our CTE program. So when the bots come, we have a plan.
Adam Stewart, Chief Financial Officer for the school district. We started out by kind of reflecting on the conversation that we heard from the panel, and we never moved past that. So we didn't really follow the script very well, but here were our observations. The importance of making these pathways visible, not just to our students so that they know what those opportunities are, but also to our community so that they know the great work that's happening here and they get excited about those things. The importance of not just, and I think this was mentioned, not just the technical skills, but those softer skills that employers are looking for, so that regardless of what the technical area is that the student pursues, they're picking up those skills that they're going to need regardless of their profession. The importance of those externships for teachers, counselors, students, so that students know and understand what those career fields are out there for them. And finally, the importance of allowing our students and our staff to take risks in developing these programs, figuring out what the supports are that are needed. We talked about the scheduling and the transportation and how that's going to have to look different in order for all of our students to access these different programs. So those are our thoughts.
Yes.
My name is Anita Zaidowitz-Pedro, and I'm with Pacific University. And similar to that table, we didn't maybe stay to the script. We talked a lot about some very interesting things. In terms of the impact of the bond, it's almost, I would say, we focused on more how to increase community involvement in the bond because we noted this disconnect. There was one really great idea here that, if you connect students to seniors, or how do we raise that awareness that everybody in the community should vote because they are impacted even if they don't see it, right? That a healthy community means that everybody's involved. We noted the last bond too, that the parent vote apparently was quite low, and how shocking that is, and why is that disconnect happening? So seemingly a lack of education, how maybe students can get out into the community to help raise awareness, how the education system can help to raise awareness in community members. The idea of centralizing as a barrier to the system, centralizing programs so that students can have access across all of the schools. We talked about, for example, how the online program does that. It reaches out to everybody, and how could we try and use that model so that kids can have access to all of these great CTE programs, because right now they live in different buildings and it's hard for students to access if you're not in that particular building. And then there was a great discussion around how do we get teachers who have these other areas of expertise to step up and actually propose new programs, because it's you were mentioning that your wife worked in a district where they had a whole CTE department, and that this is clearly an area that needs a lot of growth, and there's some great expertise that teachers have. And then, of course, in my head in teacher preparation, I start thinking about how on our end we can try and help to promote CTE educators coming into the field too. So, and the other thing too, mentioning things that you mentioned, the movie Moana, and just noting at the end, the credits, when you see how many people are involved in the animation, the graphics, the tech things, how can we get these are very creative fields, how do we get our kids pathways into those kinds of professions. Is there anything else that I missed that, does anyone want to add? No? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Can anyone else sing every song from Moana?
Good for your girls. Remember, you have a 5-year-old. And I have a 27 and a 30-year-old. They can sing every song too. I'm just going to actually do a plug. I've been involved with CTE, career technical education, my entire career, which has been many years, going back to SimCam and before and so forth. I will tell you all, there has never been a better time in Oregon's history for career technical education than there is today. We have policy at the statewide level. Probably two of our largest business organizations are sitting down with legislative and continual staff to help develop and refine that policy to be able to dedicate the time, effort, and so forth into this program, as well as what I see happening within buildings and so forth. It's actually a phenomenal time. I'm sorry that all of you don't have the reflection that I do, but when I see some of that, it's absolutely incredible. So sorry for the plug. The other side I'd like to say, just from the table sense, we tended to kind of focus in on some other areas, and perhaps I took a little bit more of a discussion time, but it was really kind of talking more about how are we keeping students and their aptitudes. There's two things, there's skills and then there's just general aptitudes. And so we really focused on that side of saying, how do we capture those and when do they, and realizing that many of this, or a lot of this is done actually through the kids' experience in education throughout the years, but then how do we actually keep that portfolio and help align those aptitudes with the different choices that they might make, realizing that the process of discovery for many students is critical, and their ability within that education experience to actually try many things so that they can help find what those are. So keeping those options open, certainly as we're doing it. And then the other part we talked about is really how do we get the community inside of the buildings, inside of the classroom, so that they can understand. I can speak from a business perspective, and many of my business associates, it's terribly bothersome to me when I hear people moaning and groaning about what's going on in education. And then I've attended the CTE regional awards for the last 3 years, and I'm humbled by what all of you do, but also by what all the kids do. And many, if not most of my associates don't have a clue. So we have a PR problem. We gotta get business and so forth into the classroom so that they do have the opportunity to be able to see the remarkable things, but also the remarkable challenges that we're all facing in that. So it was a great, Andrea, as a CTE teacher, brought that up to us. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Dolly. I work in student services in the Hillsborough School District. So at our table, we talked a little bit about just growing professions. We also touched on healthcare as one that's important, especially with an aging population. Also just other needs related to aging in terms of living situation, family structures. We also talked a lot about what students need in order to access the opportunities that we're building in our district. So multiple entry points. So for example, in the medical profession, knowing that you can be a medical assistant, you can be a nurse, you can be a doctor, you can be a PA. So just kind of having some differentiation in terms of what that end goal looks like. Ways to get students excited without feeling overwhelmed, knowing that some of these high demand careers do have very long educational paths associated with them. We talked about the importance of mentors and the work that we're doing in that area. We also touched on the K-12 piece, so starting the conversation early, field trips, guest speakers, connections with the community from an early age, so that students can really start thinking with that career mindset when they're young. We also just talked about systems and structures we can put in place so that teachers can really get to know individual students in terms of strengths and needs and build that curiosity and persistence that they need in order to stay on that career-oriented path. And then also just making options explicit and making them equitable. So again, just knowing all of the options that are available in our different high schools and making sure that all of our students and families have access to that.
At our table, probably definitely off script, but a lot of what we did is we compared notes to what we see in our classroom, compared to what industry sees in their workplace, and we had identical notes. The technology piece with this generation is a lot different than, I guess, what we were used to, and kind of the struggles and challenges with that. Also kind of compared notes and, you know, following written directions and just some of the trends that we see in their young employees as well as their students. And then also, you know, taking away the positive part of that, knowing that with a lot of the CTE programming that we're working on now would address those issues. And, you know, we talked about, you know, we've got to get something more interesting in their hands sometimes than that phone, and how much positive impact that could play, as well as we also talked about, you know, within like the diesel industry, how important it is that kids do know how to use technology, and most of what the majority of their time is actually spent on technology. So then making sure that they're understanding like how to use their technology in the workplace as well, and staying on task within doing that. So that was most of our conversation.
Good morning, my name is Jessica. I work with the City of Hillsborough's Workforce Development Programs. Our table had a couple really exciting points that we discussed. The first one aligns really well with table number 5. So figuring out how to lessen the communication gap between community partners and classrooms. So it should be so easy. There's so many people in this room who want to share their career and their expertise. So it should be so easy to get those people in a classroom. How do we lessen that gap? How do we bring people in so students can see them and hear about their careers? And then we talked a lot about community building. So, you know, why is this work valuable? Well, it's valuable because we want these students that we invest all this time in to come back to Hillsborough, right? We want them to be our future workforce. We want them to fill careers in this community, and we want them to understand that, you know, when they volunteer or do an internship or get a part-time job, we're investing in them because we want them to live here full-time as adults and be Hillsborough residents. And then the last thing that we talked about, which was really cool, was bringing the entrepreneurial mindset to classrooms. So how do we explain to students that they're going to try some different things and that's okay? They might fail at them, they might succeed, but how do we show them that when you're building a career, you have to test out what works best for you? So really bringing the concept of entrepreneurs to the classroom so they feel comfortable and confident when they leave high school, knowing what they want to do.
At our table, we had the privilege of a couple parents, and they brought a good perspective about what the kids are experiencing in the classrooms. We talked about the physical facilities that the bond would help make better, but also environmental systems. We don't really think about it, but air conditioning, heating, whatever, to make the kids comfortable enough that they're in the classrooms ready to learn. So the bond would definitely help with those concerns. The takeaway for the bond is that we have growing CTE programs, and that we want to give our kids lots of choices to explore and give them opportunities to do so in the educational system. We believe that the pathways not only encourage students to stay in school, but they provide our students with a competitive advantage later on in life. And it's not just learning the skills, or it's the attitudes and aptitudes, just in being part of these programs. We talked about visibility of the programs, and I get it. You know, with the marketing, we can create all these materials, but how do we get the penetration? How do we make the programs more visible in the community so that we get that support coming back into the educational system? I grew up, obviously, healthcare, STEM, but there are also the trades and transportation. Kids don't necessarily need to go to college for that. They can acquire the skills and get well-paying jobs right out of school. The other thing was we talked about community involvement and how much the kids love having role models in their classroom. You know, career explorations, bringing adults in to talk about their experiences, and we think that just having the broader community much more involved in the educational system improves both sides. So our kids benefit, our community benefits. And ditto to a lot of the table discussions.
Okay, thank you so much for taking time to discuss and dialogue and help us to grow and get better. Before Mike concludes and wraps us up for today, a couple of things. One, if we could have one of your guides left on the table, that will be very helpful for us to review as an exit ticket, your feedback as we grow and expand. The other thing that I want to personally say before the wrap up is everyone who helped to put this together, I need to acknowledge, because we as a committee do this because we love our community and we love what's going on in Hillsborough. So if everyone could stand that helped to put this together, and I would like to just go around and acknowledge. So please stand if you helped to plan this event today, and please everyone give them a round of applause. Jessica, Jane, Marlene, Lisa is not standing, but she put a lot of it together as well, Melissa, and Beth Grazer, and Justin Airy for thank you so much for all the video and photography today as well. So thank you so much. Our sponsors, the City of Hillsborough, the beautiful venue of the Cultural Arts Center is always, I think, just an amazing space to have a community gathering. Great Harvest for the food today, Century Culinary for the beautiful fruit platters. We do have prizes, and I'm not gonna steal your thunder, don't worry. But all of the prizes that you will be getting today were all made by students. So I wanted to echo Charlie saying, what our students do every day is amazing. And so hopefully you are a lucky winner of a take-home prize today as something that a student has made out of our career and technical education program. So with that, I am going to pass over the mic. Oh, thank you, you're so good. Also on your tables are free brake checks from Hillsborough High School. So if you are driving past there and you hear a little squeak in your car, bring in your ticket for a brake check. So those are on your tables, as well as we have community preschools at every one of our high schools. My own child, who's now a second grader, went to one of them. And what's really exciting is we're expanding the hours first at Liberty High School. So our community preschool there is now open actually from 7 to 5 to better support our working families in our community. So just a reminder of our community preschools and the work that they're doing as well. Those are on your tables too. So with that, Mr. Scott.
All right, we're gonna get you out of here 2 minutes early, so take note. We want to bank those for the next summit in the spring. Wanted to introduce Representative McLean, who, she wasn't here when I did introductions at the beginning, longtime supporter of education, so Susan, welcome. Also wanted to thank all of you for coming. The varied experiences that are in the room, the amount of expertise that you bring to the conversation only helps us get better, and so we appreciate the conversations at the table. Brooke has trusted me to give away the prizes, and she's a huge Oprah fan, so she's expecting me to say, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. I just don't have it in me, but if you reach under your chair, there could be a note there. The one that says winner, you get the centerpiece. If it says t-shirt or water bottle, if you go out back to the lobby,